from retail, telecom, to come in and talk to us about their evolution as they went through a transformation.
Chris, thank you very much. Can you go back? There we go. Yeah, thank you very much. We've already got a number of questions lined up for both you and Brad that we'll handle in the QA, and I think it's your discussion sparked a number of good debates and discussions we can have there. But I did want to get your perspective, because I really do think of this whole data management issue with the smart grid as kind of an iceberg, because I think business executives and people want to see the smart grid analytics being visualized in the business intelligence, but that's kind of the end product. And I think what you're describing is all of the work underneath the water, if you buy into the iceberg analogy, that has to be done, that's not very easy to do, number one, especially when we're looking at such a data deluge or such an increase in data volume. So I'd like to get your thoughts on the iceberg analogy, both Chris and Brad. Chris, you want to go first?
Well, I think as an information technology professional, when you talk to most people, they can comprehend all the things that you're talking about at the top, and they can visually see those, and they can understand the value of those. Where it gets complex, and really where a lot of the cost is below the tip of that iceberg. A lot of work, a lot of planning, and a lot of cost around capturing all those data components and making sure they're clean, and then integrating those up so they can be displayed for someone to make information. So that's what I take away from this. It does help show business executives all the things involved with data management.
Yeah, I agree,
Chris
and Dave. Yes, absolutely. That these things down below are these foundational aspects. Is you really need to have your grasp around these things below the water in order to achieve the benefits of the stuff above. And I've been in those discussions with the businesses, saying, do we really need to go to this level with all of these things down here? I really don't understand this. That's why we need to do this. I don't get it. But so that's the challenge, is to bring those into terms of the value they're going to get, particularly the stuff above the line, and the discipline that's needed below the line in order to get there, and kind of walk them through. Some good examples would be, I kind of hit on it during my discussion, is how many people do you have managing that same amount of data, and how would you score? How well would you rank that you're doing it? The fact that you have 12 different groups managing the same information, and all of them will say they have the database of record and they don't match up. That tells me that you've got a lot of duplicate effort, and the fact that the quality is not there in order to help drive that performance at the bottom line. So I think putting that in terms of the way people understand it will be really important.
Yeah, and I agree. It's the foundational work that is often difficult to get buy-in from the executives and the sponsors, but it's important to make it work. That's clear. And that's where I know, Brad, you're doing a lot of work. Chris, obviously, you're doing a lot of work, and we're doing a lot of work, is putting that all together. So we've got two more Pulse questions. Chris, if you've still got control of the slides, there we go. So one of the things that Chris talked about is the first question is how Southern Company is looking cross-organizationally, not only from a customer side, but as well as energy delivery and T&D side. So we wanted to get a quick question for your organization. Eric, if you can bring up the first one. Simple, true, or false? Our organization has cross-line of business, smart grid, technical infrastructure, architecture, design approach. We'll make this one quick so we can get to Q&A. There are a lot of excellent questions. And this is a key point. The question here is around the holistic approach of your organization from a smart grid perspective. Eric, are we there?
Yeah, we can. We'll take it down here in about 5 seconds, give people a last-minute chance to vote. Alrighty. And we'll go ahead and share the results.
And this isn't surprising. If you recall way back in the beginning of the discussion, we still find in a number of initiatives or clients that we work with that there are a number of projects that are segmented and siloed. I think Chris and Brad would echo this, that the way to be successful with smart grid data management is to really take a holistic approach. I will also let you know I've been a part of re-architecture projects where there's multiple initiatives and then you've had to pull back and take a step back and re-architect your solution. So the more you can do that up front, the better. The second question is, our organization has both business and information technology smart grid data management executive sponsors identified. So go ahead and answer the question. This is really getting to business and information technology working together. And we'd like to get a feel for how many organizations have the joint sponsorship versus, again, it's kind of a segmented or siloed approach. Chris, are we ready to wrap that up?
I think so.
Or Eric, excuse me?
Yeah, looks like we'll give it about 5 more seconds here.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and show those results. And there they are.
And that's interesting as well, that there's more organizations that do not have business and IT co-sponsorship, if you will, which probably lends to the same assumption that there are still a lot of siloed and segmented projects out there. Excellent. All right, Eric, if we can move to the next slide. We're starting our wrap-up, and then we'll get into Q&A, and we'll have 10 minutes for Q&A, so we're right on time. So, Brad and Chris, thanks. It was great to get the 2 different perspectives. One of the things we wanted to end with were kind of tips for smart grid data management, and these are also kind of centered around a number of enterprise information management initiatives that we might be working on, really spawned by smart grid data. And so we'll just go down these really quick. Is really you want to start looking at data classes, so you can start segmenting your data and understanding how to characterize it. There are many different ways to look at it, 3 to 4 to 5 different classes: operational, non-operational, meter usage, event data, metadata to understand your grid state. The metadata is critical for understanding how the data fits together so you can have a current view of your grid. The other thing is to consider, and this is why it's important to take a holistic approach, and Brad talked about it in his architecture, is how can data serve multiple outcomes? Another thing that we haven't talked a lot about is distribution of data. Some of our clients, one of my key clients, came to the conclusion that from just a telecommunications cost and an IT perspective, to do central data management was just not feasible. So they have to look at a distributed data strategy, as well as analytics and event processing. We talked about holistic nature, matching classes of data with analytical applications, event-based processing. This is another fundamental issue. I've been working with utilities for 20 years. We've always been transactionally oriented. However, you look at what Southern has done and get a lot of perspectives from other industries. As data has increased and they've really moved from an analog to a digital world, they've gone from a transaction-based oriented environment to an event-based oriented architecture. So that's critical. And then do business process transformation at the same time as data management process. There's a white paper. There's a number of white papers out there. If you're interested, my email is going to be at the end, and I can send you some.